Hi, it's me, Ingrid P. And I am a little bit croaky in my throat because I'm maybe a bit sick. I was at the super spreader event kind of thing yesterday at an after work at like the only place in town where there are actually parties. So the whole of my town is basically there on a Friday night. Um, I had fun, but at the same time, I realized like I'm not going to be doing this anytime soon. Um, I am not a party person, and I can have fun like meeting uh, my friends, and meeting up with them and talking, and then I kind of like dancing, um, and there is a certain feel to it, and you don't need to think about your problems and all that. Um, but then I just end up not doing so great afterwards. Um, so um, First, there was a nurse colleague that I hadn't met since 2019 who recognized me from, she wasn't part of our after work, but she recognized our group. So she came and said hi. And she remembers me from 2019, 2020, beginning of 2020, when I was a junior doctor. And she remembers this trick that I had and that I'd forgotten about. But it was kind of that I would meet a patient and then I would leave the room for a while and I would stand around and then I would come back in. And so this nurse thought that what I was doing was that because I said, so she would ask me, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm consulting. And so she thought, oh, that I was pretending to consult an older colleague so that I could tell the patients that I'd consulted an older colleague and that they would take me more seriously because I was very young. I was about 23 at that point. So she thought that was hilarious and genius act for my part, which really for me, the actual reason I was doing that was that I needed time to think, and I can't think as well if there's like a patient that's waiting for me and that's like looking at me. So I would leave the room and take a time to think, and then I would come back in, and then I would be like, oh, this is what we decided. By we, I mean I, you know. And I ended up like coming to the answers by myself. Um, and sometimes I would need a colleague's help, but I could figure out more and more things on my own by doing this. But yeah, so that was kind of a funny anecdote. Then um, I ended up getting set up for a date with a girl, but I don't think it is going to happen. We'll see. The psychotherapist kind of yeah, so she kind of psychoanalyzed me and decided that I needed to go on a date. So we'll see. But anyway, I don't think I want to do any eating at any time soon. But I went on with it, and then it was kind of funny because my ESFP colleague tried to get my ESTJ colleague to drink shots with her. But my ESTJ colleague was not having none of that. And so my ESFP colleague ended up drinking the shots that she had bought my ESTJ colleague, which I guess ended up making her more drunk than she needed to be. Yeah, so anyway, there was a certain point where there were just all these older people, basically my colleagues, sitting around, and then some of them left because they had their families to go back to, and then nobody was doing anything. So I was like, I thought that I told my ESFP friend I thought that the plan was to dance, and she was like, let's go dance. So then we ended up dancing, only us two, from our original group, and we danced. Um, and I actually like dancing. I kind of like getting into it. I'm a really bad dancer, but that doesn't mean anything. I can jump around and I can get excited about the music, and I don't know any of the words to the songs or whatever, but I can have fun, you know. But the problem is the DJ was really bad, and I'm not the person who has a lot of experience in DJs, but I know that this DJ was bad. My ESFP colleague tried to go and talk to him to like ask for certain songs, and he was like having none of it, and he wasn't listening to her. He was just in his own bubble, but his bubble was like bad music, just bad remixes. And he would change the music very often, meaning that he would change it very often, and the transitions between the songs were very long. So there would be times where you would just be standing there being like, okay, just decide about what next song is coming up. And he he couldn't decide, I guess, or he was taking his long time, and it just broke the flow too much. And the lighting was also a bit too bright for me. Like the lights would twirl a lot, and I don't like the twirling kind of lights. I kind of like flashing of lights if it's going to be like kind of a pattern kind of thing, but I don't like twirling because it makes me kind of dizzy. So I did not really like that. And then there was this guy who tried to dance with me, and he was like 50, and I kind of ran away. And my ESFP colleague, then he decided that he wanted to dance with my ESFP colleague, and she kind of glared at him and pushed him away. So that's kind of the dynamic. Then so basically on this dance floor, there were like a bunch of teenage boys. Then there were like 3 girls who were about like in their 20s or 30s. And then there were these middle-aged men. And that was it, pretty much. And that ambience was just not good. But I ended up having some fun dancing with my ESFP colleague. Then we decided that we had enough, so we went back up, and it was weird because my boss was there, and my boss is an ENTJ, and my colleague is ESFP, so they kind of have a bantering kind of relationship that I don't know how to react, because this is my boss, and at the same time, like, they're kind of insulting each other. And I'm like, hey, what do I do? And it kind of gave me an idea of like other people who share that specific combination. And it reminded me of Trump, who I think is an ESFP, and Macron, who I think is an ENTJ. It's the same dynamic. It's like Macron, the ENTJ, likes to manipulate situations, and he kind of likes the challenge that an ESFP like Trump or like my ESFP colleague presents, and they kind of like that surge of adrenaline and taking on this challenge, I think, of like this unpredictable crazy person that the ESFP is, and it's just really like, it's a dynamic where an INFP has no place in, but it just reminded me so much of that, which kind of made me laugh inside, because I was like, yeah, it's kind of like that weird handshake that Trump and Macron had, where they're like, whoa, like they're like praying, like they're trying to show a diplomacy kind of thing, but they're like actually like trying to kill each other at the same time. And that's kind of the vibe that I got from my boss with my ESFP colleague. And I'm glad it works for them, but it's like, being there and watching that is a thing. And then my ESFP colleague ended up, like, she mentioned about her breaking up with her ex, and that kind of led to all of the psychologists and psychotherapists that were still there at the party. Funnily enough, they're the ones who were staying up late and, you know, so they were psychoanalyzing the whole thing. And then my ESFP colleague was like, why is everybody wanting to psychoanalyze my breakup? And I'm like, you're talking to psychotherapists. Obviously, that's what they're going to do. And then, we decided to go back to the dance floor. And the thing is, the DJ had completely gone off the rails in, like, not being able to decide any kind of good song. So we ended up not being able to dance at all. We were joined by the physiotherapist and psychotherapist. And in the end, we ended up leaving because what happened is that I kind of got a panic attack kind of thing, because the lights, he had those twirling lights, but those twirling lights were blue at first. But then he decided to use all the different colors of lights and twirl them all at the same time, but in, like, different directions. And I think that at that point, I was too late. I was having a headache, and I realized I cannot deal with this. So I rushed to the bathroom, and then I opened the bathroom stall, and there were people making out, and I was like, ugh, high school all over again. I don't want to deal with this. And so I finally found a bathroom stall, and I locked myself up in there, and I kind of felt like, okay, if I stay any second longer, I'm going to have a panic attack. So I breathed a little bit and heard a bunch of fighting going on outside, and I was like, oh God, I need to escape, So good for me is that everybody else decided to leave at the same time as I decided that I was about to have a panic attack. So we left, and then in the end, we ended up waiting for my ESFP friend's ex to come and pick us up, which was also a whole weird situation because we were two girls all alone waiting on the street in this small town where everybody, it's like the worst place to be in that town at that time of day. So yeah, that was that. And then I went back home, and then I realized I'm not doing this anytime soon. So that was that time. I've been having a lousy time, frankly. So it was a welcome distraction from my really dark thoughts, let's just say. I have just been going to and from work, trying to read. I read Shari Franke's book, The House of My Mother, which is about her. She was a part of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. If you know the Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt scandal, where Jodi Hildebrandt was like a cult leader who got involved in Ruby Franke's parenting techniques, and Ruby Franke ended up abusing all of her 6 children, and also abusing her husband in a way through like weird manipulation tactics and such. And it's really interesting for me because I'm really interested in cults. They are part of the Mormon Church, and I think that Shari Franke is really mature for her age, and she has done wonderful progress in therapy, and I thought that was a really interesting story. However, I think that she hasn't really understood how her father is not just a good person who has been taken advantage of. He has also enabled a whole bunch of abuse. So I think that there could have been a little bit more accountability. She could have written a little bit more critically about her father. But I understand that, it's a member of her family who she loves dearly, so she'll be writing, the way that she sees fit. But there was a big part missing, which was the role of the Mormon faith on this whole situation. Because Shari Franke does not really address that, and I think that she's still part of the Mormon Church and goes to the Mormon University of BYU, Brigham Young University. So I think that maybe if she had written this a little bit after a few years, a little bit later, maybe she would have had a more critical eye on the thing. However, I understand her needs to write this now, before, kind of, so that she can write her vision of the story instead of having it all mixed up by the media. So that's what I've been reading. I also have read Howl's Moving Castle and what's his name? The Secret Garden. So I'm going to do a kind of maybe a video review of those. I have been getting into 90s CD-ROM walkthroughs on YouTube from my childhood. So I'll be doing a video about that. That is taking up a lot of time, but at least it's like a way to like erase and dissociate from the world. In that I kind of immerse myself in this nostalgic time of my life, of me playing CD-ROMs in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I'm going to be making a video about that. I haven't been able to really make a video all week because I've been feeling so low. So I hope to get some energy back again. I was feeling kind of stressed about all sorts of things that I need to do at my job during the spring. And I did talk to my boss, but my boss kind of does not understand once again. So I'm thinking of that I maybe need to talk to my new supervisor about my concerns. And then I was feeling very lost about my therapy situation, because my therapist has been on sick leave, which has been awful, because it's at this time when I'm feeling so low that I need to have contact with my psychotherapist. But so I ended up calling my healthcare clinic to call my doctor, and because I'm going to be doing a course on autism in May, and I was wondering if I could get like a kind of sick leave kind of thing for going this course, because these courses are going to be once a week for 6 weeks, and it's going to be a whole afternoon and I don't want to have to work part-time in order to be able to do this. But what happened is that, so they told me, oh, well, we need to have a description of this course, so you need to call the neuro rehab place. So I called the neuro rehab place and I said, oh, what is this course? What am I applied to? What is this about? And then they said, oh, I see that you have a time booked. And it feels like this every time that I call the neuro rehab. It's like I call them and then they'll be like, oh, you have a time booked. And it's like, I looked at the time book yesterday. You can look up if you have a time online. And it feels like I call exactly on the day where they have booked a time and I'm not aware of the time. And then like I hate the secretary on the telephone. She's always been having misunderstandings with me. But I'm like, yeah, okay, so I have a time. What is this time about? And what have you sent me the time? Like, and so she said, yes, I'm going to be having a time next, not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that, to talk about having a social worker. It's kind of to talk about what my city can do for me, my town, the commune. I don't know if you say it like that. The county. Um, the county can provide with a social worker that it provides kind of like home help. And I really don't want to do this, but I'm open to having information about it. So I guess that's some form of support that I'm getting from all of this autism diagnosis. It still doesn't replace therapy. I'm hoping that the autism class will be, um, you know, useful for me and provide me with some tips. But I'm really not sure because, like, they've given me this digital course and it has given some tips. I don't know what the physical course would be about. But it's not a therapy form. It's not like, CBT or ACT or, you know, psychodynamic therapy or whatever else there is, EMDR. It's not like a therapy program. It's like a psychoeducation informational program about autism. And I don't know how much new information I'll be able to glean from that, um, considering the amount of time that I put in researching about autism. I don't know how much information I'll be getting from that, but I'll do my best to just go to those. And so I also have this Facebook group that I've written to and asked, have you been helped by any kind of therapy? And it seems like none of them have been helped by any kind of therapy, but one person had gotten help from the diagnosis course, like the one I'm going to be doing. And some person said that she was going to, and this group only has like 5 people in it, so it's really small, but it's doctors with autism, so I think that is quite good for me. Because that person who replied that the diagnosis course was good is a psychiatrist, actually. So she said she learned things about autism that she didn't know about before. So I think that there might be some good to it. But I was feeling really low and like feeling like everything was hopeless. And I wanted help, now and not in May. So that's why I was feeling kind of lost in all this healthcare system. So things are maybe getting better, I think. But there was a few days where I was like, I would just leave to go to work, and like the first thing that my brain would supply for me in the morning was, thoughts of death. And I've realized that the sentence that I won't repeat again, but these things are kind of like, they kind of are like OCD obsessions, or rather like, just takes that I have, and it's not something I will do anything about, but it really saps my energy, because it's like, I don't want to be thinking like this, but this is what I'm thinking about, and then I can snap out of it, but then my brain will circle back to it, and then I'll be like, I'm fighting, I'm trying, but it's like, it's not, and I'm going to work and I'm leaving work, and I'm going to work and leaving, and then going back home, and that's I can't seem to get myself unstuck and try new things and be optimistic about the future. I've been watching a lot of videos nowadays. There were some video essays that were really good about how it always feels like the end of times. One of them is from what's her name? Trash Discourse or something. She's a person who says, "Hi, I'm trash." That's her opening line. That's not her real name, obviously, but that's what she calls herself on her channel. So she says, "Hi, I'm trash," and she made a video about how partying is like the way that a lot of people throughout history have coped with the end of times, because it's always felt like the end of times. And then I watched Elliot Sang's video about how it always feels like it's the end of times, but is it really? We should not focus on doomerism and more about, like, you know, working towards the systems that we want, you know. So, you know, I'm finding ways to try to get myself to be more positive, but it's just, change feels overwhelming for me, and making an effort to just do anything else in my life is scary. And so, yeah, I'm going to be just doing those videos that I talked about, and then we will see. I will be trying to just go through the topics that I've talked about, and not like a bunch of other stuff, because then it's easy for me to just like dip down in my depression hole, and I don't want to like infect my other videos with this negative energy. That's why I'm keeping it all to this video, and to, you know, videos that are, you know, just things that happen in my life, rather than like a certain topic. So yeah, this video was really all over the place, but that's because that's how my brain feels like, and because I needed to get these thoughts out. Maybe maybe I used to get these things out more in a live video setting, but nowadays I don't want to do lives. I would rather just make videos in this way, and nobody comments until the end. I do want to say that I was thinking of making it's been like 2 months that I've been thinking of making a video about things that frustrate me in the comments, and I've stopped myself every time from doing it, because you know, I think I want to think the best of people, you know, and in a way I also want people to like me, you know, and I don't want to offend anybody. But there is a certain thing that I will say, instead of like talking about all of the issues. One of the things is that I don't want people to be talking about medication in my comments, concerning telling me what kinds of medication I should try. Okay, like telling me medication or vitamins or that kind of thing. It just, no, I do not accept that. It's kind of like on the verge of spreading, you know, you're spreading kind of rumors online of like how these things might help. I don't want to get into that area of YouTube, of the mumbo jumbo kind of stuff. I am a doctor, and sometimes it feels like men are on here in my comments mansplaining me how medicines work. And it's like, you know, I have a degree. I do have a degree. I have been in the field of medicine for 11 years now, so I think I know what I'm talking about. And it's not like I'm against any kind of advice. It's just that, like, if it comes to medical advice that has to do with medications, I feel like, yeah, what are you guys even doing? You know, why are you even doing this? So yeah, that's all I have to say. So have a great day, everybody. Bye.